Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Willis Wit and Wisdom. My name is Eric Willis,
And I'm Bob Willis.
and together our hope is to be able to answer some of your questions about life and loss, leadership, conflict, whatever's going on in your world. Ask us about it. If you have questions, we'll be happy to answer them for you. Um, so, Dad, there is a special thing going on in the month of July that I'd love for you to share about, and because it's near and dear to what you do. So, July is here. What does that mean?
Well, July is National Bereaved Parents Month. In fact, the 3rd of July is National Bereaved Parents Day. And that means that any parent, male or female, father or mother, who's had the death of a child, that is their special time of emphasis and awareness. And it is a great time for awareness for people to realize that this is hard. It is hard. And a lot of people who have a death of a child, some people are vocal with it,
Mm-hmm.
and some people hold it inside and carry that pain with them and do not look for an outlet, or they're not ready for it. One thing, Eric, that's really overlooked, that the death of a child could be a baby or it could be an adult child. That person is still a child to their parents. And so bereaved parents does not have an age limit. And so that's the thing to keep in mind. And there are many great organizations throughout our country, and they are open to helping people who've had the death of a child. So my encouragement to people is who are bereaved parents is reach out, reach out. There's a support system waiting for you. They don't have all the answers, but they'll help you with the questions and maybe give some guidance on things to soften the pain. And I can suggest a few things in a little bit that might help soften the pain for some parents. But
Yeah.
I think it's a real important issue, especially in the month of July, when we need to just kind of pause and think about the bereaved parents.
Yeah, and you think about what typically happens in a family in the month of July. You have family vacations, you're making and building memories together, and
Mhm.
so what an important time to pull back and to be able to engage grief and loss in a healthy way. And so
Right.
focusing on the parents is great. One concept is you mentioned is that parenting isn't so much about the child and the age of the child, but parenting is the status of the adult.
Hmm.
So whether it's a baby or whether it's an adult child, the loss is real.
Hmm. Right. Yeah.
So,
I wrote just this morning on my morning moments on Facebook about a little girl named Emma Grace who lived 26 minutes, actually. I was there when she was born. I was there when she died. And Emma Grace taught me a lot. It's been almost 15 years ago. And being there with that family showed me unconditional love, because she was not expected to be alive when she was born, and she was. So I saw the love poured in for that 26 minutes, that little girl. And I saw how much she changed that family, how valuable that time was for them to love on her. But also, I saw I guess I saw the presence of God in providing a peace over everything, that He's got Emma Grace taken
mhm,
care of regardless. And
mm,
so I saw that happen too, and I saw the family balance out. Um, the nurses who provided some wonderful ways for them to mourn openly, to be able to have Emma Grace in the room as long as they wanted, to dress her up, bring her back for photos. All that
mm,
was so healthy for the family. That was a good experience for that family. If there can be good come out of it, it was a good mourning process. That isn't always the case.
yeah.
Sometimes this family is receiving a phone call that there's been an accident and their child died. So it isn't
Mm,
always the case. So
yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. So, any tips or advice on friends of uh,
Hmm.
the family that experiences a loss of a child?
Yes,
Because that's
right,
that's that awkwardness of we want to be there, we want to love on them. How can we do that?
right. Uh, First, I would say there's some things not to say. Do
Okay.
not say they're in a better place, because for that family, the
Mm,
better place would be in their arms. And what they're
absolutely.
dealing with right now is what we call the empty arm syndrome. They don't have anything to hold, they don't have anyone maybe to love on. So instead of saying they're in a better place, or don't say, well, at least you have other children,
Mm-hmm.
because that's like taking a knife and sticking in them, because it's more painful when you start comparing their children. You know, which one would you want to give up? This type of thing.
Right.
So those are things that you just think about what we're going to say. In fact, the most appropriate thing is to be there to listen. And what the family is doing, regardless of the age of that child, they've lost the dreams they had for that child. So if we can get close enough to their heart to ask them that question, what were your hopes and dreams? Tell me about the hopes and dreams, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and they will have some, because as soon as the doctor says you're pregnant and people start picking out names and painting walls, you know, they start dreaming for this child, what they're going to look like, what they're going to do. And when those are taken away, we can feel robbed and empty. And we need to talk about those feelings. And in fact, I encourage us, if you're close enough to someone, let them talk about the feelings that they have. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel robbed. It's okay to feel cheated. That's okay. Go ahead and put words to those things. But then I encourage people to look for ways to honor the life of that child. Don't just try to erase it and say it didn't happen,
Yeah.
but look for a way to honor them. You know, whether it's on the birthdays or anniversary or holidays, whatever it might be, look for a way to honor them by talking about them. Spend some time with other people who will talk about them. Or, you know, if there's a gravesite, put something special at that gravesite and have photos of them around. If you have photos of that baby and that child, have photos around it, obvious, and just kind of call time out in your life to do some mourning. That's a real healthy step.
Yeah. Yeah. We had friends who lost a child, and on the birthday, um, they would take whatever age the child was going to be that year and multiply that times $10 and make a donation to a charity
Perfect. Perfect.
in their child's name.
Right, exactly, because that keeps the name of the child going. You see, names do not die. Names don't die. You
Right.
know, I can take a walk out through a lumber yard and see a block of granite that means nothing at all, but you put the name of a child on there, and all of a sudden that block of granite is precious. So
Mhm.
names don't die. So that's what's good about remembering the name of that child by giving to an organization, a cause they believe in. But that's an excellent way to do that. And
Yeah.
some people will take gather family and friends together and take balloons and tie love notes to that and let the balloons take off.
Mhm.
And that's a real healthy thing to do, because it's an expression of how we feel.
Yeah.
And that's what I always encourage people to do. Look for a way to express. My hero in grief work is a guy named Alan Wolfelt. Alan's in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Colorado. Yep.
Right. He always says, when words are inadequate, use ritual. So when we don't know what to say, find something to do. And it may be just lighting a candle, maybe just holding a blanket, whatever it might be, or it may be going to a certain location where you feel peace and presence of God. But when words are inadequate, use ritual. Find something to do.
Yeah. And for husband and wife who go through this loss, it can be a very stressful, intense-filled time. And so just want to encourage the parents that are experienced or have experienced the loss of a child, um, not to blame one another, not to try to, uh, figure it out,
Right.
but just hold each other,
Mhm.
remind each other that you're there, that don't let it drive a wedge in your relationship as husband and
Right.
wife.
Right. And always work on communication. I know that's one of your key words. Always work on communication, because
Mhm.
you see, if the communication between a husband and wife is difficult anyway, with the death of a child,
Mhm.
that can be that wedge. Communication is even more difficult. So it takes some extra effort to do that, to communicate on the heart level and say, you know, I'm hurting, we're hurting together. So let's hold hands and hearts and let's walk through this together. So if there's, like I say, if there's difficult time communicating, there may need a counselor to kind of help
Yeah,
bond that together a little bit, so they can have a third person to help them talk about feelings.
yeah, yeah. If you were walking on eggshells in communication before the passing of a child, then that gets uh, that field of eggshells just increases.
Right. It magnifies.
So, Dad, what resources do you have for some folks?
The organization that I really believe in is called Compassionate Friends. They're a nationwide organization, and they do not charge for their services. They have support systems, support meetings. And so, in fact, they have some online helps also, but Compassionate Friends Network is excellent. And I would encourage people to get online and seek out some help, because there are a lot of great organizations across our country that are available online with written materials, but also someone to talk to, someone who understands. And I do want to come back to something that I know is in your realm and mine also, is I encourage people, don't be afraid to see a counselor. Don't be afraid to talk with someone, a professional, about your feelings. It is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. You say, okay,
Yeah.
I've got to do this, and call someone. There are plenty available. And if not, contact us. We'll guide you to find someone. I do not mind telling people, I do not know all the answers, but I can help you look around and see what we can find. So you're welcome to contact me at rwillis14@cox.net. You're welcome to tap into me there, and I will help anyone try to find some kind of support, because as long as you hold it in, it's still grief. It will eat on us. But when we start sharing it, it becomes mourning. And according to Jesus, that's when you find comfort, is when you mourn, not when you grieve, but when we mourn. So we'll guide people to do that.
Absolutely. And you can reach out to me and find me at reclaimleadership.org and contact me through that website. And so, Dad, you also play in the mud a little bit, and as a sculptor, so you have this artistic piece inside to you. So something you've produced has helped some people.
Yep, just so happen I have one sitting right here, I think.
That's one. Yeah.
That's has a ripped out heart. That's what I hear from families that say when a child dies, they feel like a heart's just been ripped out. And this is what this is symbolic of, a ripped out heart. Husband and wife holding each other, sharing that ripped out heart. What's unique about this is the backside is soft. It's smooth there, not ripped out. Because once grief gets past, we get past the grief, it can smooth out a little bit. It isn't as cutting, it isn't as sharp. And so I created these. I have a life size in a hospital memorial park here in Oklahoma City. And these are ones that are about 12 inches tall that have just produced them. And people can search me out on Facebook, and I'll be putting something on there today, in fact, about that particular sculpture and how to honor a child by putting their name on that, and any information we'd want to put on about that child. But that's my therapy is in mud. I'm a mud therapist, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. I just don't like getting my hands dirty, so you can play in the mud.
Yeah, I'll do that for you.
Yeah. Well, Dad, thanks for another great episode of Willis Wit and Wisdom. And any last words that you want to share with our folks today?
Don't give up. Those are my words. Don't give up, because grieving parents are not alone. Even though when they feel alone, they're never alone. So we want you to reach out. There's help available. Like I say, Eric and I, we do not have all the answers. We even have questions, but we will help you try to find the answers, the directions, and guidance that we might need. Okay, it will help us to help you.
Yep, absolutely. And I would encourage you also that you're a thinker and a feeler as a person, and you have thoughts, feelings, and they all get tangled up and mushed around a little bit. And don't be afraid to ask someone to come alongside to help you untangle all of that and work through the hurt and pain.
Exactly.
All right, Dad, thank you again for another episode of Willis Wit and Wisdom.
All right, thank you. Always good to be with you, son.
Yeah, it's good to see you. And one of these days we'll get to see you in person. That'd be great.
I forgot what a hug felt like, but
yeah, we'll figure it out one day.
Yeah.
I love you much.
I love you too.
Everybody, thanks for joining us on this episode of Willis Wit and Wisdom. And again, throw us your questions our way. rwillis 14 at cox.net or through reclaimleadership.org. We'd love to hear from you. Anyway, until next time, God bless you. Thank you.
All right. Bye, folks.